Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started. I'm sure the place will fill up a little more. Thank you all for coming. A few interesting pieces of the time in which we're standing. Certainly the time of Chof Beis Shvat, our Rebbetzin. Shalom Bayis, family, children, bringing up children properly. These were all things, topics, more than topics, matters that were very, very dear to the Rebbetzin. And perhaps we should dedicate this evening to our Rebbetzin and make a promise to our Rebbetzin that we will increase our efforts to bring peace in our families and help our children accomplish everything they need to accomplish and want to accomplish. By Hashkocha, I happened to be, before I came here, at the shloshim of one of our children, a young lady who was very close to me, whose family is very close to me. And I didn't even remember that tonight was her shloshim, but as I got home from work and I sat down to have a quick bite, I got a call, please come over, it's shloshim for our daughter. Hopefully she will be the last child that we lose. It's an interesting thing that when I was at the shloshim, they asked me, what is neshamas all about? What neshamas is all about is trying to discover clean drinking water. What's clean drinking water? And apply it. That in Africa, and I'm from Africa, the biggest scourge amongst the children is dysentery. Dysentery is a relatively simple disease. But once it sets in, it requires hospitals, doctors, intravenous, hydration, a very complex and intensive treatment regimen in order to save the child, God forbid, from disaster. And a treatment regimen that's not always successful, and certainly one that's very expensive and intense. But the solution to dysentery is not putting kids in hospital and giving them intravenous fluids and antibiotics and all the rest of it. The solution to dysentery is a very simple one: clean drinking water. If we could clean up the drinking water throughout Africa, we would be done with dysentery. The problem that we face today, a devastating problem, which is why I come from a shloshim, is one that I believe begins very early, has many, many roots and causes, but what it does to our children is it disconnects them. So they no longer feel that they belong. And when they no longer feel that they belong, when they no longer feel that they are, to quote my friend, safe, secure, seen and soothed, they get themselves into all kinds of trouble. And it's trouble which is incredibly difficult to repair once it sets in. The causes are many, and the clean drinking water is a little bit elusive. But I do believe, I firmly believe, that if we apply ourselves, that if we attend to our children in the way that they should, if we attend to our relationships with our spouses in the way that we should, if we build healthy families and healthy relationships, that we can insulate our children at least in part. We surely will do no harm and will only do good. And in the name of doing good, I'm going to ask Shimon Russel to come up and help us. Help us understand what goes on at home and what goes on between us and our spouse and how to repair that and how to work with that. Help us understand how to bring up our children properly and how to have healthy families so that we can attempt to insulate our children from the various issues that lie in wait for them. Reb Shimon.
Okay, hi, good evening, everyone. And thank you to neshamas.org for inviting me back again. I guess it went well last time. I guess so. Here I am. So we're going to do something a little different tonight. The subject I was asked to address is about shalom bayis, about developing our marriages. To me, that's a natural follow-up to last time. Probably should have been the one before, because the reality is there is no greater gift we give our children than the love you give your spouse. There is no greater gift. There's nothing we can do globally to help create that resilience in our children, to be able to deal with life and have a healthy focus on life, than the love we give to our spouse. Creating shalom bayis, a true relationship of ahava between husband and wife, is the key. And you see in Chazal, it's understood as the key to everything. It's the window, it's the Pesach, it's the vehicle for our lives. Our life's work is built around shalom bayis. But certainly in terms of our children, there's nothing greater we can give that lifelong will continue giving to them forever than the love we give to each other. It leads directly, obviously, to helping children feel safe and secure. It's pashut. It facilitates and is the platform on which resilience is really built. So this is a natural, I think, follow-up to the last drasha, and they go together. They work together. I'd like to make one small disclaimer first. Not myself, nor anyone here, could possibly do everything I'm going to talk about tonight. It's not shaykh. I realize that I err in being very passionate about my ideas and beliefs, and I sometimes are also on making it sound so simple. Here's what you do. Just do this and everything will be fine. And I imagine people walk around like, really? Really? So let's not walk out sabrachen, and let's just nosh. I'll give you a potpourri of ideas, concepts, of which I don't think any human being, I don't know, maybe there's someone out there who could just, a couple who get it perfectly right all the time. But that shouldn't stop us from striving to understand what is the truth. And what I want to present is the truth in its pristine form of what marriage should look like, knowing full well that none of us really do it perfectly, it's impossible. This is something we strive towards. So let's take this more as chizuk rather than, if you didn't do this, you failed, you may as well just like go get divorced, drop your kids off, somewhere and like give up. Please, let's not do that. But let's just nosh from the potpourri of ideas and let's be mechazik each other. Marriage is a vehicle. To me, it's a vehicle that's meant to take us somewhere. See, unfortunately, we get married. You ask the average person, if you interview kids getting married, like, so you're in shidduchim, so why do you want to get married? I don't know, my roommate's getting married. People are getting married. I want to have a family. I don't know. People have no clue when they get married. Really, what are you getting married for? Someone goes down, he finishes high school and he goes down into the subway to go to work. He sees the successful people going to work. So he follows them down in the subway. He comes to the booth and he has to buy his tickets. They say, where do you want to go? He says, I don't know, I just want to be with them, the successful people. Yeah, but where you want to go? A ticket. Where do you want your ticket? I don't know. I just want to get on the train and be with the successful people. Of course, they shove him out the way. You have to know where you're going. You have to know what's the destination if you're going to arrive in the right place. And tragically, most of us got married because someone said it's time to get married. So we got married. But do we sit down and think, what am I really getting married for? What's the tachlis? What's the goal? Haraya, you take a look at the Western world, the world we live around us, and you discover that most people will never be married to the same person for more than 10 years. Most marriages in the secular Western world simply don't last more than 10 years. Why is that? We have to have a value system, not just that it's pasnish to get divorced, but we have to have a value system that teaches us and informs us, what am I doing with my marriage? Where am I going? What's the point of it? It's not just a kosher way to facilitate having children. I once saw, I was in a dentist's office one time, and they had a copy of this Psychology Today on this. So I saw on the front cover, 10 ways to improve your marriage. So I couldn't, I had to take a look. So number 8 of the wise secular advice about how to improve your marriage, number 8 was consider spending more time apart from each other. This will improve your marriage. We have to free ourselves of this nonsense. And we have to actually sit down and think to ourselves, why did Ataka get married? What is the point of my marriage? In order that it should be that marriage that would inspire my children and give them resilience and make them feel safe and secure. I have to think through what is the tachlis of marriage? What's the purpose of my marriage? Let's start with the Gemara in Saita. So we all know the Gemara. The Gemara teaches us, Abayim yoyim koidim yisiras avlad yodze basko mes bas ploini leploni. 40 days before it's machlokes, but let's go with conception. Bas Kol goes out and says, Bas Ploni leploni, the daughter of Ploni, a certain person, she will marry Ploni. So when the Gemara says 40 days before the Yetzirah, who are we talking about? Who's Yetzirah? 40 days before who's Yetzirah? Before who's created? The boy or the girl? It's going to get complicated. If you can hang in there with me, because I want to bring out a point without getting too difficult. I know it's late at night, but let's see if we can hang in there for a minute. 40 days before who is created, does the Baskol go out and say the daughter of this guy is marrying that guy? So Pashtus is talking about the guy. 40 days before this man is born, Arbaim Yom Kodesh Mesiras Avlad, him, 40 days before he's born, listen carefully, Baskol goes out and says his daughter is marrying Pliny. We still here? Let's see if we can understand this whole implication here. He's not born yet. 40 days before Yetziras Havlad, Yetzi Basko mes Bas Pliny will marry Pliny. Imagine the following scenario. You got a guy, 40 days, he's going to get married. He's going to get married in 40 days from now. And he'll conceive on the night of the chasna, and they'll conceive a baby. So it's 40 days before the Yetzirah, before conception. According to that mandama, it means conception. So 40, where is he, this boy? How old is he? This boy, he's not married yet. This guy's not married. 40 days before, he's going to conceive. His child he's going to conceive already has a shidduch in Shemayim. 40 days before the Yetziras Havlad, the Bas Kol goes out and says, Bas Pliny, Le Pliny, to him, to the one that he's going to conceive. Where's his wife? How's his wife? So they're not married yet. And in Shemayim, they have a baby, and that baby's a boy. Because Pashtus, the boy comes before the girl. Where's the shidduch? Bas Pliny, where's the girl? If they're not married yet, let's say it's their oldest child, and they're going to have a boy, and this boy is going to marry a girl who's probably, let's say, 3 years younger than him. Can we say that? Is that reasonable? Is that possible? 3 years? So how old are her parents? This is their first child, this girl, right? So let's cheshbonos here. They're not married yet. He's 20, this boy. He's getting married in 40 days from now. His wife is, let's say, his wife-to-be is, should we give her 18? We'll say she's 18. Should we be reasonable? He's 20. She's 18. They're getting married in 40 days. And in Shemayim, they already have a son who's got a shidduch somewhere in Shemayim. So where are her parents? So if it's their first child, her father, let's cheshbon, is 3 years younger. So her father's 17. Her mother is 15. If they'll actually meet and go out, who knows what they'll do, they both get thrown out of school. They'll never get a shidduch, this couple. Meanwhile, in Shemayim, they're already married with a daughter who's engaged in Shemayim to the son of this guy who didn't get married yet. Do we have that clear? See, when you analyze this, you've got to think, whoa, what's the cheshbon? And why are we being taught this? In Shemayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already in his infinite wisdom saw exactly who should be married to whom, which neshama fits with which neshama, because it all has a tachlis and a purpose. We play it out in our world with shidduchim and with dating and who knows what. We play it out, investigations, analysis of the family. But in Shemayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already saw neshamas getting engaged to each other and married, whose parents weren't even married yet. We're getting the picture here. In Shemayim, it's a different cheshbon. Because in the Shemayim dika cheshbon, there's a perfection of who is exactly right to help me, and how am I exactly right to help her, and how we exactly right to help each other reach our tikkun, reach our purpose. In Shemayim, there's no accidents. In Shemayim, there's an exact perfect shidduch with all its package, with all the challenges that shidduch brings, and that's the shidduch. That's the one in Shemayim. That's the one that's best to help me reach my tachlis. See, marriage has two goals, ultimately. The primary goal is to help me break my ego so I'd be able to be davak with the Rabbeinu Shalom, dav kabay, to correct, to connect. I have to give up to connect to a spouse. I have to give up so much about my ego, because the only thing that gets in the way of me connecting properly with my spouse is me. That's the only thing that gets in the way. So marriage gives me the opportunity to get rid of me, get me out the way, to achieve Dav Kabay. It becomes the primary vehicle through which I can learn Dveikus, by trying to be Davak my entire married life. Remember, we never get it perfect. We never quite get there, ever. But we're always working at trying to work out how to connect to each other properly, how to merge, how to work together in harmony, which helps me get me out the way, which frees me to be Davak with the Rabbeinu Shalom. Primary vehicle of the primary purpose of marriage is Dav Kabay, is to be Davak with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the second purpose of marriage is Shleimus Adam, Tikkun Amidus, because that's what marriage does. It forces Tikkun Amidus. Take a look at Adam HaRishon. It's fascinating. Adam HaRishon was created du partzufim, right? He was a man on the front and he was a lady on the back. He was the tachlis of dveikus and shleimus. You can't get more davak with an isha than Adam HaRishon. He was du partzufim. He was both. And the Eibush says, Lo toveos Adam levada. He can't be this one thing. It's a deeper pshat. He can't be oneness together. It's not good. Okay, he has to take them away from each other, separate Isha from Ish, and then say, now go work out how to make it work together. Because the tachlis of trying to work together of Ish ve'Isha is the holiness of life. It's where we reach Dveikus B'Yisbarach. It's where we really reach our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's where we do our Tikkun Amidus, is the holiness of marriage. That's what it's for. If you ask, why did I get married? It's to reach Dav Kabay. It's to do my Tikkun Amidus. It's to get rid of my ego. To get myself out of the way. Everything else is all packaging. Everything else is agav. Oh, but the real tachlis is to change me, to fix me, to try and work out a way I can fix myself, change myself, because it's impossible otherwise. How are you going to live in harmony unless you do that? Unless you fix yourself? Ad kadei kach, so the Medrash says that when a get is given, lo aleinu, the mizbech is yored demos. Cries. Why should it cry? You know how many halachas there are? There are all sorts of halachas for tikkun olam, that we should get LCSW. We should get, we shouldn't have two different minyanim together. Mipnei aktata, says Rashi. There shouldn't be fighting. There shouldn't be arguing. So we have tikkun olam. There's lots of mitzvahs because of tikkun olam. There shouldn't be fighting. So here this couple, lo aleinu, they weren't able to work it out. So they gave the get. The Mizbech should be dancing for joy. There's less kantata. There's less fighting in the world. Why is the Mizbech Yored Demos? And the answer, I think, is Pashut. Because it's the lost opportunity. Because Abayim Yom Kodim Mesiras Havlad, it was all there. The potential lay somehow, never, unfortunately, no one to blame. I'm just saying the lost opportunity. And Dafka Mizbeach, because Mizbeach is about kirva, is about being makriv korbanos, coming close to Rabbeinu Shalom. So Dafka the Mizbeach is Yored Demos. Because the tachlis of marriage is that we should break ourselves, our midas ros. And we should learn to be davik by trying to work out this mysterious thing of working out how to work together, husband and wife, in harmony, permanently, constantly, reliably, predictably. To do that, that's godless. That's Dveikus Bayisbach. That's the tachlis of our whole marriage. That's it. That's why we get married. And here's the big trouble, the big problem with this. I gave a drasha one time in Lakewood. I went to one of my rebbeim. He said, what's the title? It was on marriage. He says, what's the title? I said, here's the title. The title is Men and Women Were Made by the Rabbeinu Shalom Not to Get Along Naturally. It is unnatural. Men and women don't get along naturally. So we had a fight. He said, what do you mean, no one? I said, no one. He said, no yotzim naklal? I said, no, nobody. Later on, I found the Maharal. Taka says it. It's al-tivi, it's supernatural. It's actually supernatural. So if you don't get along, don't feel bad. But understand that's what you're there for. It is not natural for a man and woman to get married and live in harmony. It is unnatural. And we have to work at that. And that's the tachlis of our marriage, is to drive ourselves to recognize. If only we were told this when we first got married. Could you imagine? Why did no one sit us down and just tell it? I give chasen shmuz to my friends' kids. I sit down, I tell them they think I'm a sugar. Later on, I tell them, call me up on your first anniversary and tell me if you still hold I'm a sugar. They all tell me the same thing. I walked out, I thought you were sugar. No one gets along naturally. Nobody. I'm going to be different. Boy, are they humbled by the first anniversary. Nobody. No one. Because that's the whole point. What's the point of Hashem making us all perfect with all we malachim? The whole point is the work we do. And Rabbi Russel, imagine how inspiring it is to your children to see that work. Imagine what it does to our kids' neshamas if they see us engaged in the mechama of fighting my own ego to make that person I live with feel loved. You know what that does to our children? Whoa. Forget all previous drashas. If you can do that, imagine what you create in your children. Imagine what that feels like to grow up in such a home. Here's the facts. Rabbeinu Shalom made men and women in a way that we do not get along naturally. Accept it. That's the truth. And start from that point, heading into your relationship saying, okay, so I don't feel so bad. I guess I'm normal. Now let me work it out. Let's see if I can work out how to do this. But it gets better. I want to give you I want to make the case so solid that no one will walk around out with a suffix tonight that men and women do not get along naturally in marriage. Impossible. Let's start with something. I'm going to give 4 principles. And let's start with something that's so poshut that the only people who don't believe what I'm about to say, there are 2 types of people who absolutely don't believe what I'm about to say. They are liars and deniers. Everybody else is going to agree with me. Now, I'm not going to get into detail, and I want to tell you, I went to Gedolei Yisrael to ask about what I'm going to say now, and if afterwards, after I say what I'm about to say, anyone here feels in the slightest bit offended, and I mean this in all sincerity, please communicate to me privately and tell me how I could have said this in a different way or a better way if you feel that I'm saying this in a way that is in the slightest bit offensive. But I must tell you, I've discussed this with Gedolim, how to say what I'm about to say, but it's important enough it should be said. There are 4 reasons why we cannot get along naturally, and I want to make the case absolutely ironclad. The first one is the fact that in a relationship between a man and woman, a husband and wife, men and women have completely different physical needs. Their physical needs, intimacy needs in a relationship are different, fundamentally different. The result of that difference creates in every single relationship, shall we say politely, ineimus, unpleasantness, with men often feeling frustrated and women often feeling pressured. These are facts, universal truths. I will not get into more detail. It's not necessary. I think everyone understands what I'm talking about. But this is a fact, a metzius, that both men and women frequently go to sleep frustrated. Him from disappointment and her from being pressured. Why is that? Why did the Rabbi Shalom do that? Olam chesed yiboneh. He claims he created a world of chesed for us. Why didn't he just give us needs that stimmed? Why did he make us have the same desires, the same needs? Why did he have to make us so different that we're always like walking a little bit on eggshells, trying to be sensitive? What is that? Oh, you know what? I got a better idea. Get rid of the whole thing. Give us like an ironclad, absolute, black and white mitzvah. Give us a zman, a shir, a time. Don't leave anything up to us. Take it all out of our hands. There's nothing. We just okay, Tuesday, 11 o'clock. That's it. Why didn't he do that? If he wanted a world of chesed, what's all this discomfort and awkwardness that never seems to cease? What is that? What it is a raya that men and women were made by Rabbeinu Shalom not to get along. It's a chesed. Because it forces us to have to be sensitive. It's mechayev at the very deep level of our needs to have to tune in. It's such a primal need. And it's so complicated. And it changes. And you think you finally worked it out, and you discover you didn't. And that forces constant sensitivity and constant working on midas and ego. It forces and compels us. It's such a gift. That's reason number 1. Men and women were made not to get along. And it's a gewaldige chesed, because it makes us work. Reason number 2. Men and women differ in how we process life. Women, al pi raiv, there are always exceptions, are primarily process-oriented, not outcome-oriented. Women do this thing, it's called window shopping. To men, this is like aggravating, self-imposed, painful nightmare. You're going not to buy. You're going to look at what you can have. And you enjoy that. Women, for what process of life is so important. They like outcome too, don't get me wrong. They enjoy, eventually getting there. But the process of life is, women live in that. women can go, you ask her what she did today. Well, she went to like 6 stores, bought, this top and this skirt and this thing, brought it all home, tried it all on, took it all back. And when you ask her, what did she do today? She tells you all about it as if it matters, as if it's like interesting. And you're scratching your head, men. So basically, honey, you wasted your day. And she starts crying. And she didn't waste her day at all. It was all part of her life of going and choosing and seeing and maybe and the Havaminas and I will like it and I won't like it. And she's actually on the phone with 3 friends saying it over. And she enjoys that too. For us, that's Yisurim. A man buys a suit. You walk in a store, you say, I want a suit. He says, what color? Blue. Okay. Here's a blue suit, fine. That looks fine. Okay, let's just get that, a little bit of this. And he walks out 10 minutes later with a blue suit. Like, what's the fuss? How many of us call up your friend and say, oh, what'd you do today? Well, I got this blue suit. I went into the store and he did the hems, How many of us, hands up, ever told a friend that you got your hems done? And yet, ladies, this is like this. They could nosh this over for a few days with a few good friends, how they didn't do anything. And they went for the chasna, and this didn't match that, and it was the wrong royal blue. And what is royal blue? I don't know. But the mechutenista said it has to be royal blue, so I don't know. And she sent me a swatch, and I went, and she said this store, and there was not that store. And it all matters to ladies. I had a couple I worked with, fascinating story. So they got married. They live in Eretz Yisrael. First year, they decided to learn in Koil there in Eretz Yisrael. So they lived there and they enjoyed it. So they stayed a number of years. After, they used to come back for Pesach. One year, they get the call that, a few more siblings from each side have been getting married. And could they stay in Eretz Yisrael? We'll give you money for Kalim, but maybe you'll stay for Pesach. It'll be good for you. We'll give you money, you'll stay in there. They say, fine, sure, no problem, pleasure. So they decide to stay in Eretz Yisrael for Pesach. So they make their first Pesach, still keeping 2 days. So first night they have Bali Tshuva boys over. The second night they have Bali Tshuva girls over. It's all gewaldig, it's all set up. But it's the first time they're making Pesach. They got 3 or 4 little kids now. She's definitely nursing. They got a toddler, 2 more kids. I think they have 4 kids. And they're making Pesach. First Pesach. So Erev Pesach, they finally, there's not much room in Eretz Yisrael, the cabinets and the things to store, so they stuff everything wherever it can goes. There's a whole big mess. It's right before Pesach. There's kalim in the sink have to be washed up, Pesach dig, from all the cooking and the thing. So they start washing up and they see water coming out from the sealed cabinet beneath the sink, the one they put their chametz kalim in. Water is coming out. She knows in a minute, the girl, she knows exactly what happened. He stuffed all the kalim in there in a rush, and he obviously moved the pipe underneath, and it's leaking. She chapped in a second. So she's in the bedroom telling him what to do. He's got no clue. Pipe, this pipe, that. But the girls know everything. The guys, the learners, he has no clue. Bekitzer has no brera. There's a leak. You can't get a plumber in Eretz Yisrael, Erev Yantif. So he opens up the thing, puts a towel on the floor, gets all the chametz kalim out, sticks it on the towel, and he starts trying to fix this, the U-tube under the sink. Well, Bekitzer, she's yelling from the kitchen, don't forget to use the hairdryer. You got to dry it off first. Dry off the thing. But he doesn't hear, so he wraps the duct tape around it, gets everything back in, turns it on. Of course, it leaks again. So this time he takes it all off and he listens, what's with the hairdryer? You got to dry it. It's wet. The duct tape's not going to stick. So he dries the whole thing off. Meanwhile, the toddler has found a new game. Hide the chametz kalim. It's complicated. So he's there under the thing, trying to dry off this pipe and notices the toddler running off with kalim. He puts his head up, whacks his head on the underneath of the thing, of the cabinet with the hairdryer, and he's trying desperately to get this thing fixed. Bekitzer, somehow he manages, miracle, under her guidance. Of course, she's the one who brought the duct tape, by the way, back to Eretz Yisrael. Anyway, so they finally get it all duct taped up, stuff the chametz kelim in. It's now kimat after mincha. Forget about mikveh and everything else. He runs to shul and davens mincha. Like at the last minute, just at the tail end of mincha, he davens. And she gets everything organized and gets the seder done. Everything's fine. Okay, comes Chol HaMoed. They go visit her grandparents in Bnei Brak. So they get there. So Bobby says, so Shefela, how was Yontif? And she spends the next hour and a half explaining the whole drama with the plumbing, and he didn't listen with the hairdryer and the duct tape and the leaking, and we found kalim all here and there, and she's having a blast telling over this story, and Bobby's laughing, and everyone's having a great time, and they're on the way home, and he's steaming mad. Why'd you have to embarrass me? Why'd you have to embarrass me? She says, what, embarrass you about what? You made me look like a fool. I was just telling over the story. It was nothing. I didn't make you look like a fool. It was a story. No, you made me look like I'm very hurt. Very hurt. Okay. No. Next day, they go visit his cousins in Bayit Vagan. They get there, and the cousin says, no, how's Yontif? Making your first Yontif. And she says, oh, let me tell you about the plumbing. Amazing. And she goes back into this. He's mamish fuming. What? I think it happened another 2 times over Chol HaMoed. Fast forward 3 years later, they go visit Bobby. She says, you remember your first Pesach? She's, yes, the plumbing and the hairdryer. She's back in the story. And he's like, gone to Mincha, goodbye. That's why they invented Ma'ariv, so men can get out the house. They're gone. He's gone. To a lady, the geschmack of that story, she'll be a Bobby. I swear she'll be a Bobby one day. And she'll say when her granddaughter comes, oh, let me tell you about my first Pesach. It's not offensive. She's not trying to be hurtful. A lady lives in the process of life. The stories of life talk to her. Men, we fix stuff. We like to fix it, and the worst thing for us, the enemy of all men, is talking about it. Like, just don't talk about it. I got it fixed, right? Good. Why are we talking about it? What is there to talk about? And the poor wife is sitting there dying to have a conversation about it. How could you have a conversation about putting duct tape on a pipe? Like, where is the chalais of this conversation? I took the duct tape, I wrapped it around. Okay, are we having a conversation now? Do you feel better? We have no clue how to have a conversation about that. We don't know what it means. We had a pipe, we put duct tape, and it's not leaking. Men are primarily outcome. We're outcome oriented. We like to fix stuff, and we absolutely detest talking about it. Women are primarily process oriented. They like life. They like the pishivkas. They like the ups and downs, the good and the bad and the stories. And they can sit and talk for hours, the same story over and over again. That's what they enjoy. Okay. What was Hashem thinking? Like, stimmt nicht. How does this work? Is a raya. That is the Olam Chesed Yibana. It's the avodah of sensitivity to tune into each other, for her to respect that this is for him Yisurim to have this conversation. Once, maybe. Efsha. For him to understand that that's part of her nature. She's not trying to be difficult. She's not trying to be hurtful. It's the geschmack of life is in the process of life to an Isha as much as the outcome. It's not that she doesn't want the outcome. She, of course, wants the pipe fixed. But all this process, she lives in that. It's geschmack to her. The tuning in against my metzias, what that offers me, is profound. It's profound. What happens normally when a husband and wife talk to you? The wife says, I got to talk to you, which means for most men, your stomach is already dropping right there. I got to talk to you. So what do men do? First thing, this. It's unbelievable. We go for the watch instantly. How long, honey, how long do you need? It's like we're being drawn into this pit of misery. She wants to talk to me. No, we don't look at the watch. Sure, honey. How much time? Whatever you need, hon. No problem. And we tune in. She equally is respectful that he's taka got to get to Ma'ariv and Mincha, and he's got to pay the bills, and he's got a lot of things on his head. And the fact is, for us, it's Yisurim Noirayim to discuss royal blue chasna clothes. We have no idea. There's certain colors, by the way. We have no idea what they even mean, those words. You know, you bring a swatch home of some like weird color that we've never heard of. We don't know where it comes from. We don't know what that even means. But that means something to our wives, and that's what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants from us. This wasn't an accident. This is not in the way. This is the way. This is how we grow. The third one. These are rayas that men and women cannot get along naturally. The third one is culture. Chances of two people in this day and age growing up in and coming from identical culture is extremely unlikely. Extremely unlikely. I once gave a drasha, I don't want to say where, I don't want to insult anyone, but I gave this drasha and I mentioned this thing about culture and I gave an example. The example I gave was this young couple. They'd been married a year or two, and one of them came from a wealthier home. And her parents decided it was time they should buy a house, and they should refurbish it, and they should get a nice house and fix it up. So they bought this house, and they start fixing it up. Halfway through the fix-up, it all came to an end, and they had to go and seek counseling and rabbinical advice, what to do. It was a mess. I gave this example. I actually made up this example. After this drasha I gave, a young couple comes over to me and said they'd like to speak to me. So I thought they had a shaila. They pulled me into a room off the hall, and they let me have it. A chutzpah. You embarrassed us publicly. Who set you up to this? I thought I'd come up with something that couldn't have happened. And it happened right there in this community. Happened this story. And they were convinced someone told me this story, and that's why I said it. She came from more of, should we say, sort of Hungarian type background. In that background, you know, there's such a thing as mold. See, look, we got moldings here. Is this a simcha room? Oh, it is. It's a simcha room, right? Okay, so you have moldings. See, moldings. Some people think molding, crown moldings. See, in Hungarians, these are like nevertik. You know, Hungarians, you know, you got to have a few grapes hanging here. You know, this is like, okay, Crown Heights. All right, you know, it's like, you know, in Borough Park, this wouldn't fly, I tell you right now. You need a few good grapes over here and some leaves. There are other places, we shall remain nameless, who needs a molding. What a moistness. What do you need a molding for? It stims the ceiling, hits the wall, like... It works. There's a line. Who needs a molding? What do you need a molding for? He came from a certain type of background where moldings is like, mices. Who needs moldings? The old Nevada tradition. Who needs a molding? She came from a real Hungarian home. And by the way, this is only 2 moldings. It's real nevertig. I must say, you got to get like a 3rd one here. At least if you invite Hungarians here, you got to have like 3 levels. Like this is only 2. 3 with some grapes and clusters and things. You make it look good. And he came from this place where, it's mistress. So the dining room, she wants 3 moldings, and he doesn't want any moldings. And to him, it's like embarrassing. I'm going to invite people over. We're going to make simchas. They can see my dining room. Mistress. What? I fell in with a Hungarian wife. Like, what is this? And she's looking at, crying her head off. We're finally building our own house. Let's make it look nice. See, the problem with culture is non-negotiable. It doesn't have a hesber. It is neither right nor wrong. It is neither good nor bad. It's simply different. I grew up in England. I was born in England. I grew up in England. In England, the culture is so different to the American culture. I married an American girl. Lived here most of my life. When I got married, I grew up in a home where the culture of our home was we had a meal. It was called supper. Americans don't know much about this meal. It's called supper. You sit down with a father and a mother and children, and you have this thing. It's called supper time. Has anyone ever heard of that? I had no clue that Americans just grab, mother eats with the little kids, like the whole night. She has about 5 meals, noshing a hidden hair. Father probably had a meal at the office or somewhere. He grabs it at a simcha, goes to a chasna. Maybe he'll be home, maybe he won't. But there's no matzav like a 3-course meal at 6 o'clock every weekday night. Most American women would die if that's what they had to deal with. Shabbos is enough. Weekday, a 3-course. My mother, Aleh Shalom, made a 3-course meal. We sat around. My father walked in the house, 6 o'clock. We sat down, had a 3-course meal, soup, dinner, and dessert. That's what it was. I grew up in a home where my mother laid the table for breakfast. Now, I'm positive no one ever heard of breakfast around here. Imagine that. Imagine you grew up I remember my poor wife, why she stayed with me is a miracle. Because the poor woman, we had grapefruit, and aside from the fact that breakfast, who serves their husband breakfast? What is that? But no, not just that, but you take the grapefruit, there's this bent knife. I had to teach her about this bent knife with a serrated edge that you go like this around the grapefruit, and you cut segments so that you don't spritz on your tie when you're digging in. Anyone know this thing when you have to go with a spoon and you always spritz on it, and you got to get rid of your tie before you eat grapefruit? That's why they invented that knife. Culture is such a fascinating thing because the Rabbi said there's no right or wrong with culture, there's just different. You can't convince someone your culture's wrong. It doesn't pass. There's no words that fit that. And yet, the chances of 2 people coming from the same culture is in everything. It's how you run your Shabbos table. There's a culture to the Shabbos table of what kind of zmiras and when you sing them and what kind of Dvar Torah and who says and when do you say. Is it short? Is it long? Is it drosha? Do you have to be quiet? Does everyone have to... we gave a... I grew up in a place where everyone was quiet before Kiddush. Nechte getug. I gave it up. Rabbi Sai, one of the biggest takunim you could ever make in Shalom Bayis, don't get everyone quiet before Kiddush. Just sit there and start making Kiddush. That's all, and they'll get quiet. And I used to wait. It was like agony, poor thing. I'm telling you, I don't know why she stayed with me. I have no clue. If you ever meet her, you can ask her. I have no clue. But I gave it up. Culture is like this fascinating thing that gets in the way in your whole life. And it comes between you in so many levels, in your clothing, in your furniture. I mean, why would you buy furniture when you first get married? What a crazy thing to do. What is the chance of two people agreeing, husband and wife, on what's a nice couch? I mean, it's mad. Buy secondhand and throw it out after a few years. 5 years later, you'll merge a little bit if you work on it. Culture is so different, and it's so part of our life and our world. It goes into so many details. So what's the chance of husband and wife getting along naturally when the cultures they're coming from, chances are, so completely different? And yet again, the answer is because it forces us to grow. It's the greatest gift. And the last one, the fourth one, is personality. What's the chances of a husband and wife having two personalities that actually stim? Longer than when you're on your date. You date, you think they more or less work. As soon as you get married, you discover the truth. Right? The Rambam says that our personalities, just like our faces are different, you won't find two people with identical faces, which is the net total of our personalities, everything that makes up the personality. In fact, there's a very interesting Gaon. The Gaon says that he brings the Zohar Kodesh, there's Shivim Keiches L'Nefesh, 70 different qualities to personality, 70. I have a brother who's a bit of a mathematician. One time we were talking, and I was saying to him, what's the chance of people getting along? There's 70 Keiches L'Nefesh. Oh no, I said to him, how does the Rambam know for sure that just like our faces are different, our deus, which is our personalities, ain't a daimim, not even close? How did he know? So my brother said to me, very simple. It's very simple. He says, let's assume there's 70 keiches, 70 qualities to personality. Shivim keiches nefesh. And they each differ, each one, they differ by eiches and kamas. How much and how frequently. Of course, they're infinite, but let's say just two. So you can get angry, but you could be profoundly angry, or you could be a little angry. You could be angry for a long time or angry for a short time. You could be insightful. You could be tremendously insightful, or you have a little bit of insight. So every quality can differ at least in two ways. So he said to me, what do you think 2 to the power 70 is? Thank you. See, there's ladies. Ladies know stuff. You see this? They tune in. It's great. Thank you. Thank you. So he pointed out that 2 to the power, I think it was 36, is more people that have lived since Adam Rishon. Imagine 2 to the power 70. If the 70 qualities to the nefesh, to personality, of course the Rambam's right. The two people and their personalities can be the same. The truth is, we all float around in this world in what I call a deus bubble. We're in a bubble. And we're all floating around merrily in the world, happily ignorant, thinking that everything inside my bubble is truth, and everything outside my bubble isn't. And that's all fine and good till you get married. Because when you get married, you suddenly pop each other's bubbles. And it's a very painful experience when you discover someone has a whole set of values that are not yours, and guess what? They're equally convinced theirs are right. We all think we're right. We all think our values, our system, everything in my head is right. And we forget that everybody else has their own deus bubble, and even your wife or your husband have a whole different deus bubble. Their personality has different feelings about life. has a relationship to life that's different and distinct. It's not yours. So what's the chance of a husband and wife getting along naturally? If your personalities are going to be completely different, if the chances are the culture, that your culture is not your spouse's culture, she's process-oriented primarily, he's outcome-oriented, and the physical needs are so different between men and women, what is the chance of getting along naturally? The answer is it's not possible. It's LTV. It can't be done. And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this gift. This amazing, amazing, amazing gift. And said, go get married. Because marriage is your vehicle to Shleimus Adam. There is no better vehicle, and this stuff is not in the way, it is the way. See, there's really 4 levels of intimacy. Intimacy here I mean neshamas cleaving to each other. Neshamas becoming one with each other. On the very lowest level is physical intimacy. It's the very lowest level of all. Why is it the lowest level? And by the way, most people in the world, that the physical intimacy can go okay for a while. After a while, it doesn't go okay. It doesn't work anymore. If that's all you've got, it fizzles out. Because on that level, that I love you because of the physical benefits of being in love with you and being married to you, so after a while, that fizzles out. And on that level, you have to deny everything else about your spouse that drives you crazy. You have to look the other way. You have to close your eyes. You have to imagine something else because you can't deal. You have nothing else. And in fact, what's interesting is that when people who have struggles on that level go to counseling, one of the questions and one of the chizukim that they're given by efficient counselors is, tell me something. Is there any nice quality? Is there anything nice about your spouse? Can you tell me something nice about them beyond the physical? There's some nice quality they have. And what they're trying to do is develop the second level, which is emotional intimacy, where we like each other. We appreciate each other. I see you're a good person, and you're trying hard in this world. And I value you because you're a good person. And for most people, tragically, this is as far as they get for the rest of their marriage. This is already considered a good marriage, where they appreciate the good qualities of each other. And it's tragic because on this level, you really don't know each other. On this level, you have to deny all the things you really don't like about each other. The qualities that you find irk you, the differences in your culture, the differences in your personality, the fact that you've got to sit there and listen or tolerate someone who doesn't want to listen. There's so much you tolerate about each other. But on emotional intimacy, let me at least connect. She's a nice girl. He's a nice man. You're a good person. So I love you because of the physical. I love you because the emotional intimacy. For many people, that's about as far as it gets, which is tragic. Because there's 2 more amazing, amazing levels, madregas, you can reach in a true Torah marriage. The third level I call psychological intimacy. There's physical, I love you because the physical benefits. Emotional, I love you because you're a nice person. You're a good person. Psychological is, I love you with my eyes fully open, aware of your chisroinus klape me, the things I have a hard time living with. Because just as I would hope that you would embrace and accept the chisroinus in me, my chisroinus, just as I wish you would honor me and understand me and accept I'm not a perfect person, well, I'm willing to embrace you fully with the things that I find are difficult to live with, and I accept those fully. You don't have to hide from me. We can be fully present with each other. We can know each other, embrace each other, and fully accept each other. That's psychological intimacy. It's profound, Rabbi Russel. It takes a lot of work, but it's amazing. It's an amazing level of honesty and vulnerability, of knowing where I don't have to hide. I'm not proud of my chesronos, and I intend to keep working on them. And just as I wish and hope you would honor me and see me as a work in progress, and I will commit myself to keep working on myself, not to offend you or hurt you, well, then I honor you the same way, and I accept you as such. And I accept that you're not a perfect person either. And I won't hold it against you. And I know who you are, and I love you despite everything I know that hurts me. I fully love you. That's an amazing level. And it's already taking us, can you feel it, to a level of personal development and growth. It's taking you to a very special level, and it's still not the highest level. The highest level is hafla of a fella. Because on the lowest level is I love you because of the physical. And then I love you because you're a good person. Because of the emotions and feelings. And then psychological is sort of I love you despite the chisroinus we both have. I love you fully and accept you fully. But spiritual intimacy is I don't love you despite what I see as your chesroinus. I love you because of them. I love you because of them. Because the challenges that we have to live with each other, the challenges God gave me when He gave me you, force me to become a better person by living with you. This gift Hashem gave me is you. And yes, at times you're hard to live with, just like at times I'm hard to live with. But that hard to live with is going to make me a better person. You make me a better person. You make me grow. You give me my dveikus. You give me my shleimus. You give me the opportunities to work on myself, to know myself, to see my flaws and become a better person. That's why I love you. That's spiritual intimacy. Spiritual intimacy is awesome. And that's really the tachlis of why we get married, is to reach spiritual intimacy, where I can harness and embrace everything about my marriage and my relationship, the benefits, the disadvantages, the struggles, the whole package, with eyes open, without being afraid. I can share who I am because I'm humble and I'm trying to overcome my chesronos for you. I'm using your disappointment in me to make me a better person. I observe when I hurt you, and I use that hurt to inform me to work on myself. Not to be upset with you. You're upset with me again? But I use the look on your face to tell me I got to work on myself. That's godless. That's spiritual intimacy. That's amazingly awesome. Secular psychology sells us a bill of goods. It's awful. I was on a panel one time, and they asked me I keep talking about Torah psychology. They said, Rabbi Russel, can you define the difference between secular and Torah psychology as you see it? And I said, sure. And b'siyata dishmaya, this is what I said. Secular psychology seeks to help make you the happiest person you could possibly be while causing the least harm to everyone around you. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? We want to help you be the happiest, most fulfilled person you could be while causing the least harm to everyone around you. Torah psychology says we're going to try and help teach you how to be the ultimate giver to everyone around you while preserving the ability to be happy and fulfilled. The dagesh is on someone else, not on me. Because the tachlis of my marriage, like all ben adam chavero, is to improve me. So we can learn how to utilize that relationship, the one that's there mostly in my life, my marriage, to teach and inform me how to be a better person. And I should learn how to do it while still retaining the ability to be happy and fulfilled. I'm going to leave you with a summary statement, just a thought. I could go on and on, I'll be honest. We could sit here all night. I have so much ideas on this, but I think it's better, if it's okay with you, to leave you just with something, a solid machshava to work on. We can always meet again. What is the definition of marital love? What is love? Something I thought about so much over the years. And I came up with the following statement. It's a bit clumsy, but I'm going to say it and I'm going to repeat it. If anyone's like writing feverishly, I promise you I will. Well, actually, if any women are writing feverishly, there isn't one man. The ladies are over here writing like this. Every detail, you have to see it. The men. It's amazing. You have to see it. Here's love. Love is the emotion, experience, or feeling that occurs when on a consistent basis, husband and wife are able to put the other's needs before their own needs when the two sets of needs are in conflict. Let me just do it one more time. Love is the emotion, experience, or feeling that occurs when husband and wife are able to put the other's needs before their own needs when the two sets of needs are in conflict. When your two sets of needs are not in conflict, you don't create love. Love only occurs when they're in conflict. It's a long Shabbos afternoon in a sticky, hot summer. Wife has been stuck at home with all the kids, chalishing to get out. Husband's like backwards and forwards, minyanim, chavrusas, thank God for chavrusas. We're in and out. And she's like stuck there. Late in the afternoon, Motzi Shabbos, they make Havdalah, and she looks at him wistfully and says, I got to get out. Can we go out? Let's go get pizza. I just got to get out. Can we go out and get pizza? And he says, sure, we can go out, no problem. But if we're going out anyway, let's go and get shawarma. Yeah, men like meat, Ladies like dairy, okay? And she looks at him and says, really, after a long Shabbos, I don't want shawarma, thank you. Pizza, a salad, thank you. And he says, a salad? If we're going out, a salad? Let's go eat, Men are always ready to eat. A salad? That's not going out. And she says, oh, forget it. Forget it. I'll just go to sleep. He says, why are you getting so testy? I said, I go out. And she says, I'm getting testy? I tell you I want to go out, and you hijack my whole going out. You know, there's only your way. It always has to be your way. And she starts crying. He said, now you're crying. Why are you crying? What's meant to happen? How do you create love? And it's so simple, Rabbi Sai. And we'll finish with this. Here's how that conversation is meant to go. She says to him, honey, I've been locked up the whole Shabbos. I really need to get out. Can we go out and get pizza? And he says, sure, we can go out. But, how about shawarma, not pizza? And she looks at him and says, I would. If you really want, I would. And before she even finishes the sentence, he says, no problem, we'll do pizza. It's fine. Pizza's fine. It's fine. No problem. Whatever you want. My pleasure. To which any normal woman says, okay, no problem, we'll do the shawarma. It's amazing. Women are so easy, Rabbi Say. It's so easy. And she says, no problem, we'll do the shawarma. And he's smart because he heard me. And he says, no, honey, pizza it is. We'll go and get pizza. And she says, no, I know you don't want pizza. We'll do shawarma. It's fine. And he says, no, chas v'shalom, we're doing pizza. Now it doesn't make a difference. Whether they eat pizza or shawarma, they have a loving time together. Because the two sets of needs were in conflict, and all they tried to do was put the other one's needs first. That's what she really wanted anyway. Just go out and connect and have some nice time together. She didn't really even care about the pizza. Masha'en Kain, if you win the battle the other way, I don't care whether you eat pizza or shawarma, you're both miserable. Everyone's miserable. Love is when the two sets of needs are in conflict and you go out of your comfort zone and you remind yourself, Rabbeinu Shalom gave me this perfect spouse who, with the imperfections of living with her or him, is how I grow. And I embrace that and greet that gladly. That's the gift. That's the Arba'im Yom Chaydim Misir Savla. That's the perfection of this shidduch. And I thank the Rabbeinu Shalom for this gift, this person I'm married to, who can inspire and be this better person. This is a loving relationship. This is what marriage is, Rabbi Say. And I am confident and convinced if we would live like this, imagine the dogma to our children. Why would they ever want any other type of life? Child growing up in a home observing this, why would they want anything else? This is where, even if they go through the traumas and struggles of life, this is where they want to come home to. This is the place they want to get married and bring their children to. This is the example. This is the life they want. Baisa, if we want to build our families and our relationship to Yadus and our children, this is the marriage. This is what we have to strive to achieve. Thank you very much.